Good evening, good love, good light, illuminators and wayshowers. Thank you once again for joining me and Dave and Ivan. And here we are at Languages of Light, speaking, listening, sharing all the myriad of the languages of light. And we come to you so synchronistically, which we're going to share all of our synchronicities today. We come to you with our buddy Ivan, which I met a year ago in August, the same weekend I met Dave, and has since started speaking light languages. We've become wonderful friends ever since, and Ivan's been over to visit several times, and we've had lots of wonderful channelings and conversations, and talking to the angels and all beyond. And one of the synchronicities is we're both wearing green today. And pine trees was another synchronicity. And I remembered, as I was going to tell everybody, we come to you here from Pembroke Pines, Florida.
Oh, wow.
Yes, I know. So we were talking about pine trees today and green, the love and green energy. We wanted to share with you some synchronistic stories. So we have our buddy Kermit the Frog here. So I say hello to you from southern Florida here in the United States. Wherever and whenever you are, it's now for you. So if you're up in the northern hemisphere here, it's probably pretty cold for most of you. Gratefully, we are coming to you from Sunshine State, Florida. It's a beautiful evening. We have a fire going. It's the new moon right above us, a beautiful crescent moon. New beginnings, and we really wanted to take these moments to share with you some of our moments, our synchronicities. It's been a while since I've made a video, so it's been quite a ride these last few months, and a lot of information, downloads, channelings. I don't even know what else to say about it all, really.
Purging, releasing,
belief systems,
expansion.
That
encompasses everything, to be honest.
You know, and we were talking about today, was it about growth, and really it really takes challenge to grow, because otherwise we would just be sitting stagnant. And
right.
One of the things that we have been talking about is, well, I don't even want to say talking about, but experiencing, I think all of us, is the idea of accepting all of us, all that we are. And many of us, as we begin to expand our multidimensionality and start to become aware of the parallel realities in which we have counterparts in which we're very connected to, and receiving and sending information by ways of visions, songs, sounds, and all of these things are representations, whether it's angelics, as we were talking about today, Isis, the archetype energy, Isis and Osiris, these stories. Here we are sitting around a fire, and we thought, what a perfect night to tell our stories, to tell things that go on behind the scenes, if you will, but on the camera.
Right.
The things that we go through, I know, and the things that we've been going through ourselves personally, and growth and expansion within our own personal lives, and the challenges that we've been going through, and all along with all of you, and along with what's going on in the world collectively, which is not what we're here to talk about. But it is, in the sense that one of the things that we've been discovering, and we were just talking about a few minutes ago, that we were talking about how I was received some information, and I should have brought the card out here, but about where are we using victim vocabulary? Where are we still in
victimhood?
This idea, yes, of it's happening to me, not by me, for me, that our realities are, we're accepting ourselves for all the things that we know that we are. And one of the messages that has come through a lot lately is how all of us collectively, and human collective consciousness level, we're finished with the game of domination. We're finished with the game of the victim voice, the victim vocabulary. Where are we where are we still driving our now from the past that doesn't even exist? Because they're parallel lives that we are encountering moment by moment by moment for specific reasons. And you may be wondering why I'm holding our beloved Kermit the Frog, brought to us by the beloved transitioned Jim Henson and his wonderful stories that even my children grew up on. And the idea of Sesame Street was, and still is, acceptance of all that we are. And when it began with a diverse group of people who were, I think, really just there to teach children to accept themselves the way that they are, that their fears are simply an expression of things that are beliefs about themselves that are not true, that we are not weak but strong, that we are all of these things that we're scared of, all the children and the monsters beneath the bed and the scary things. We're taught to be scared. Fear is not
Empowering.
well, not only is it not empowering, but it's not who we actually are.
Right.
Fears are learned, and we're not born with fear. And this can get into a lot of different directions as far, but one night as I sat out here, I don't remember, night or day. I was sitting out here and was thinking something less than empowering, and all of a sudden I heard him, Jim Henson, come to me and say, "This is why I came to do this work. This is why I created all of these parts of me. Every one of these Muppets is a representation of a part of me that I discovered and wanted to accept and not be afraid of." And how children are only taught to be afraid of frogs. We're only taught to be afraid of animals. We're taught to be afraid of the monsters. We're taught to be afraid of our dreams. We're taught to be afraid of everything. And this is what we came to transmute and transform, is the victimhood, the fears, the evidence that we've been given that is not real. And how he said to me that day, that is why I wanted to reach the children while they were little, so that they understood that they're all equal, they're all perfect, they're all part of all that they are. Each character accepted themselves. If we think of all of the different characters, how each one had their own personalities. Even Oscar the Grouch, we loved Oscar because he was a grouch and he embodied being a grouch, and we loved him for being a grouch, right?
He owned it.
He did. He owned it. Thank you. He owned it. Right. And so these puppets empowered Jim to own these parts of himself, to love all that he was, and to realize that to empower children at a very young age to accept each other for who they are, to accept all that you are. I think that Sesame Street has been the exemplification, is that the right word, of all of that, of complete love, complete acceptance, that there's joy in that acceptance, and how a pig can love a frog, how a pig can fall in love with a frog, and how you can have a bird this big and a snuffleupagus and and all of those characters. And who were we talking about too? The Count.
Oh,
the Count.
The Count.
Yeah. He's a vampire.
Exactly. How can you love a Count?
So.
It was literally just being comfortable with all the different pieces of different aspects that make you. We all know that as humans we have a beautiful broad spectrum of emotions, and what best way that was represented in a gift to us via Jim Henson than all these characters. that all those characters have insecurities.
Yes.
They are their own personalities. They are.
They're vulnerable.
Exactly.
Some of them get angry.
Oh, very easily. But they are all aspects of the same creator, the same person who is animating these creations, these puppets.
He made them real for us, and now it
Exactly.
shows us that all of those parts of us are real, but we can love them anyway.
Right. All right. Do you want to go over how that applies on a multidimensional aspect
Well,
as far as that goes?
Well, go ahead. I mean,
Okay.
well, the other part of that, though, is I wanted to, so as I'm sharing my story about this crazy, like, oh my God, Jim Henson came to me and nobody will believe it, and these are the things I don't talk about. These are the things that happen to me in my normal everyday life that I don't talk about, and I don't own it. And then so I'm telling Ivan the story, he's like, own it. We need to tell this story because that was following the story when I told you about it last time you came to visit, was you were saying that was right about the time that you had come to discover this idea of the Reaper.
Right. So on my end, and the beautiful expression and example that Jim Henson gives us with all these characters, if you view it from a multidimensional standpoint, I am very much aware that I'm a fractal of this beautiful divine archangel named Shamuel. And I know that as I've grown with my awareness, I started discovering different aspects of myself, which that's what Jim Henson was expressing to Wendy, and how I correlated to my own experience and my own self-discovery. That just like I have my light side, my left side, and my night sides, my shadow sides, whatever you want to call it, that they are all me, and that they are, if I were to tune into those aspects of myself, those aspects do have a personality, and they do have a certain belief system, but in essence, that is me. I have a Reaper side, Reaper self, call it Green Reaper, call it whatever vernacular you wish, but that is my highest shadow side, my highest night side, just like I have our Archangel Shamuel, which is my highest light. And that was teaching me the balance between my light and my night, and I'm here as a human, learning to harmonize, and I'm just using these two.
Harmonize, that's our word today, harmony, harmonize.
It's harmonized with, let's just say, these two aspects of myself, from my highest night, my highest light, and learning to make peace with these beautiful aspects of myself and bring in that balance within myself and be comfortable knowing that there might be an aspect of me that takes care of a lot of the dirty type of work, but there's also, and that aspect is just as beautiful and just as awesome as my divine angelic side that does a lot of this other different type of work. And both work are being done in a very harmonious, balanced way to bring lightness to everything within our collective consciousness. And what I love about this interaction that Wendy had with Jim Henson as he was creating all these puppets to articulate, this is an aspect of me, this is an aspect of me, this is an aspect of me. So the more you become aware of all other aspects that are you as well, to not judge them because they're not this personality, this human personality, right? To acknowledge them for who they are, what they are, and to give them the proper respect and acknowledgement that they are not any less than or more than you. They are your equals. Something that Shamuel, as a being from the angelic realm, always articulates, and he's not the only one, many angelics that I communicate with, they articulate, we are what you are. We are equals. We're the same. We're no higher, no lower. We are your brothers. We are your sisters. And however you wish to view your multidimensional self, I can address, just add more spices to the soup. I have a fairy self. I have a beautiful galactic glirin self. I have a freaking wolf self. I have a freaking mermaid self that is stunning, gorgeous, but have my mermaid self smile at you and see if you think she's stunning. Because they don't have flat teeth. They have teeth a bit more like piranhas or like sharks. That species, that version of myself that I have tuned in and connected, but I do not judge that aspect of myself because he looks different than I feel his heart, he feels my heart. We acknowledge we are both one, and even though our cultures may be different, I give him the proper respect and admiration as he gives me for me doing the work that I'm here doing and sharing this knowledge with all of you to better understand, to help you better understand your multidimensionality. And just that self-discovery and correlating that to Wendy's conversation with Mr. Jim Henson just showed me how beautiful and wise of a teacher Jim Henson was and is with this beautiful gift of all the Muppets and bringing all this diversity, because he was literally showing his aspects of himself to everyone and to show everyone that we all have many aspects, and to don't view something as just because it's one of your night sides as a negative, because let's be honest, the day has a daytime and it has a nighttime. Then just because it's nighttime does not mean that it's negative. It's just part of the cycle, part of that beautiful divine balance.
Well, and as we speak right now, as we're talking about the different hemispheres, well, it's evening time now, and here, but in another part of the world, it's
daytime.
day. So
Exactly.
we're experiencing it at the same time, simultaneously, but we just can't be aware of it from our perspective.
There you go.
Our perspective right now is dark. It's just a perspective.
Exactly. And to perspective, there are also beliefs. And to our freaking grandmaster over here, Dave, when it comes to beliefs, is what you create, what molds, shapes, and creates your reality. So, what do you choose to do? When you guys saw Jim Henson use the puppets to animate and create a storylines, you were not looking at Jim Henson. You were looking at the puppet that was creating that reality for us to enjoy. So it was your belief, our collective beliefs, that created this to be full of life.
And they came
to life.
They became part of us. They became part of our entire fabric.
Absolutely.
Really, they.
No pun intended.
If I could do a really good impression of Kermit, I would, but I'll just not do that. So.
I want to give a shout out to Bert and Ernie.
Yeah. My sister's favorite, Ernie.
Really?
Yes. Oh yes, of course.
You know what's funny? You said Bert and Ernie, and I could literally see Bert and Ernie.
Really?
Yeah.
That's funny.
Go ahead.
Oh my gosh. Anyways.
So we just wanted to share this with all of you because we really believe that not only is this for the children, but it's for the inner child in all of us to realize that it's okay to play. It's okay to play with this stuff. It's okay to realize that we were a part of all these things, and channeling this, we call it channeling, but really it's just, we're just receivers. And it's up to us to perceive what we're receiving, and it helps us grow and understand more about all that is, and that we're all just experiences. And to think about those who do come to show us the reflection of that darkness that we can discern. Also, what is it that we want?
We get to choose the meaning of the experience.
Exactly. And how do we see staying in the positive state of being in order to see the positive
Lesson.
aspect of what we are currently perceiving as a negative experience? In that way, we're always looking at it as a positive, as a part of us, as something for us, by us, for us to grow. No longer in the victimhood state of being, with the victim vocabulary and why is this happening to me, instead of how is this serving me. and how may I use this to serve the all, which of course includes me, which then serves me. So this idea of breaking the cycle of domination by our own victim voice. And we were talking about how, even in this tarot, how the chains
From the devil card.
that are on him, there's nothing even attached to, the chains aren't even attached to anything. It's like our chains, our fears are our chains, our judgment are the chains, but they're not attached, they're not real.
They're loose.
They're just,
They're loose.
it's an illusion.
So the chains can be, you can view it as a big hoop around your wrist, but the hoops are this big. At any moment in time, you can take those hoops off if you feel that you're chained with a big hoop around your neck to a certain belief. Those hoops are big enough for us to put it on and go through that experience and say, well, I don't like this, I'm going to take this off. Why the heck why do I choose to keep myself chained up when I can just as easily take these hoops, these chains off of my physical body and say, that was fun, not, moving on now, and I'm going to move forward. Now, when it comes to being in a not so positive, quote unquote, experience, and you're going through a lot of heavy stuff, that you can very easily go into victimhood, do your best to view it at least from the most neutral standpoint. Because I'll be honest, I just went through some pretty heavy stuff myself, and it's very hard to be positive when you feel like you're going through a meat grinder. But if in that experience, in that intensity, you can do your best to stay neutral, write it out, observe it for what it is, what caused this to manifest within my reality, and what within myself do I need to change so I don't manifest this not so nice experience, so I don't have to go through this again. And then once you move past that storm, if you will, and come out the other end and say, that was not fun, I'm never going to do that again. And I know exactly what I did to manifest that very, I don't want to say traumatic, but that very dense experience that I don't want to experience anymore. Now I know what I need to change within myself. And of course, while you're in it, you're not really going to appreciate it. But after the fact, once you process and give yourself time to process, and in the processing mechanics of this, be gentle and soft with yourself. Remember to always love yourself, even though that may be challenging. And if the waterworks have to start, let them start, because that's how the healing starts.
Absolutely.
So once you, and this may take days, weeks, months,
Doesn't have to.
right, it's a choice, but you are the one that gives that belief, that power, that reality. Go ahead.
Once you release it, it's done. I will
Yeah.
say, the moment we decide, it's already done. The process is, the rest of it is us deciding how much of that process that we want to go through. But truly, the change is done the moment you decide.
Yeah.
Ivan actually gave a really good example, as well as you're referencing the person with the chains on. So if you look at your wrist and you see the shackles and the chains, you think you're shackled, you think you're anchored to something, but as you expand your perspective a little bit more, you see, oh, the chains are not attached to anything. Once you see the chains are not attached to anything, you're free.
Absolutely.
You could talk about the chains all you want. You could talk about how for years you
Yeah,
thought
all
that
these chains.
these chains have been doing this and these chains have been doing that, but as soon as you expand your perspective just enough to see that chain's not even attached.
Right.
There's nothing more for you to do.
Oh, and I wish to bring this because this is going to trigger something within you, which is very beautiful.
I'm like,
So in circus, thankfully this doesn't happen anymore, but they would capture elephants whenever they were babies, and they would chain them up.
Oh yes.
So because
Funny we had this talk about elephants.
right, but because
You know who you are.
exactly, because the baby tried so hard to get loose when it was shackled and staked to the ground that it eventually said, you know what, I cannot get out. So as the elephant grew, the shackle grew and whatever, and even though the elephant had the ability, the strength to easily pull out, it already had it in its mind, I can't get out.
Okay.
When in actuality, it is an illusion, and it is that thought, that memory, that belief that keeps you anchored into that victimhood mentality.
And how many decisions? Our fire master. And how much of our nows are we using our past as the reason that something can't work now, when the past is literally an illusion. It's only a parallel reality. It's not linear. And we can access the information for the now, but this is where the victim vocabulary comes in too, because how many times do we blame a person or circumstance or situation for us not moving forward, when really those are the chains that have not attached to anything.
Right.
They're not there's nothing really there.
To hold you back, period.
You're blaming somebody else for something that all you have to do is stop blaming it, stop being the victim, and you realize, well, I've been free all along to do it. It was my decision not to. But we don't want to face that.
It's literally a choice, and it's a decision. What do you want to do? What action do you wish to take? And it boils down to choices. Do you wish to choose to live in that paradigm of disempowerment of, oh, I can't do this or I can't do that because of this, that, or the other? And I understand that it is very challenging, especially when we're so accustomed to, from a 3D paradigm, having that security of this, that, and the other. But once you have the awareness enough to where you're constantly dialoguing with your guides, you're constantly dialoguing with your higher self, and something that these two lovely people brought to my attention is like the monetary standpoint is a big shackle for a lot of people not to move or not to move.
Good point. Good point. Especially now.
Exactly.
Especially now, a lot of people are not. They're not working. They're afraid.
Right.
They're unsure and
victimhood mentality again. And it's literally trusting your inner knowing, your inner guidance, and trusting that the universe will provide when the time is appropriate. And it always happens that way, as long as you trust yourself, your heart, your guidance, and tie it into all the aspects of yourself, all your other multidimensional aspects, both your light and your night sides are working in tandem to help you forge the path for your highest enjoyment. As long as you honor this and you stay true to this. Do what lights you up. Don't ever allow anyone to dim your light. Period. I don't care if they're your spouse, if you're kids. I don't care what the relationship is. You should never allow anyone to dim your own lights. And if they are trying to do that, well, then there needs to be a choice point in your life. Decisions that need to be made. Even if they are heartbreaking. And then you got heart makers over there.
Well, we talked a lot about that today, about not dimming your light so other people feel okay about themselves, and that we have to realize that we came here to be the brightest bulb we can be.
Absolutely.
And we even use other people as a victim voice to say, well, I don't want to be myself because it might make other people uncomfortable, or even if it's not conscious.
Right.
We don't do things because we're so afraid that if we're amazing, it might make somebody else feel less than amazing. But that's what that person's waiting for, is to see that reflection, to say, you can do that too.
Absolutely.
You can do it too, and if you're not, you're gonna sit and come up, all the victim voices are gonna come up, giving all of the excuses of why you can't do that thing that's everything else's fault,
Right.
all comes to the surface.
Absolutely.
All at one time, when you see somebody doing what they love and you know you're not. It's like, you don't even realize that that's what's happening to you. And then, it's
I'd like to
very-
add a little to that. We all know that we're all mirrors of each other, right?
Yes.
Do you want to be, and it, again, goes down to choices. Do you want to be that mirror that victimhood feeds victimhood? Or do you want to shine so freaking brightly that you blend the living bejesus out of every dense energy around your freaking radius?
Exactly.
That because you shine so brightly, the person that is observing you, being your truest essence from the loving space. And I'm not saying, loving does not mean that it's always like, oh, come on, sweetheart, baby, blah, blah. Loving is also standing strong in your own conviction of, I will not lessen myself anything less than the divinity that I am. And be that beautiful mirror and that beautiful example of, for other people to say, oh my goodness, if this person can do it, I can do it too. And be that example so that people use, not to follow, use to empower themselves. And if you are willing to give them that guidance, as guides that we all are for each other, then please do it. So, and that's all I wanted to
That's a very good point. And I was gonna say something like that.
Which mirror do you wish to be for that other person to reflect back on?
The other
That's
thing
what I
too
wrote
I wanted to mention was that people think that the opposite of victimhood is domination.
Good point.
Beautiful.
And a lot of times when people feel like they're victims, they want to change from being victims to being dominating.
Right.
But it's the same thing.
It's the same
frequency.
point. Yes.
Same
It's
frequency.
exactly the same frequency.
So
We
you could
just
either
talked about
dominate someone or dominate a situation, or you could be the victim. It doesn't have to work that way. You can choose to not play that game.
at all.
Period.
Put that coin on
Exactly.
its side, so there's no victim, there's no domination, and pull out the love coin. The love and light coin.
And to the other side of that coin, and see that, hey, there's a whole lot of creativeness that's kind of there. The more you embody your love, the more you embody your light, the more you embody your divinity, the more you embody your creativity. The more you shine that creativity, the more joy it brings. Therefore, you attract more joy, you attract more of what manifests the creative aspect, that in turn turns into your financial support system for some of you that require that, i.e. this guy, obviously. Tag, I'm one of them. But don't limit yourself, oh, I can't do anything creative and that's not going to sustain me, because you would be very surprised that that's totally the contrary. So that's all I'm going to say about
Abundance is in many forms. We've talked about that
Absolutely.
many, many times, and I have received so much abundance that just doing what I love, that even the exchange of per people, that's abundance. The energy that we exchange, having these gatherings together, all of these things create abundance for us all, and I have received so many gifts just by doing what I love, and which has nothing to do with money. And I know that there will be a time when we will be exchanging, doing what we love for each other. In other words,
Right.
you do what you love, that's your puzzle piece, and that is your currency. You are your own currency. And that is the way okay, so what did I say? We were talking today about making decisions in our lives. And I proposed that, and this is a proposition to all of us, especially right now. if you're faced with a decision, if you remove money completely from the equation, let's just say you have all the abundance you need, if the situation were exactly the same and there was no money necessary to, I can't do this thing because I need the money to do it. Okay, so if the money wasn't part of the issue, would you still do the thing?
Would you take action?
Would you take action? Would you?
As we hear a motor rev up.
That has been a message all week long for me too. Full speed ahead, full throttle, full steam ahead, all week long. Just by finding race cars from Dave's childhood. Seriously,
Wow.
It's like I get messages. It's a message. They're like, so it's just a lot of all of these things. I could go on all day long about all the synchronicities that have happened, just in the last few days, let alone the last week. You know, so.
Well, and if you don't mind me sharing a little bit of that early.
Not at all.
So, interestingly enough, I am a channel. I get Isis come to me saying that she wants to speak with my beloved, beautiful fairy godmother over here, Mama Wolfe, and I don't know, excuse me, the lady of 1,000 names, Isis incarnate, if you will.
Yes.
But I just thought it was really cool that Isis came to me and she wanted for me to channel and speak to her, articulating pretty much take action. Why are you holding yourself back? Especially when you have the awareness and the ability, the knowledge, the skills, etc., whatever you want to call it. Let's just say awareness for the sake of conversation of how to do certain things. Why are you holding yourself back? What's stopping you? What's the reason? Is it because you're afraid of judgment? And I'll be honest, yesterday was the first time I actually went in public in front of a total bunch of strangers and started talking my mediumship, the way I communicate with spirits and channel and all this other kind of
Congratulations
stuff.
for that, by the way.
Thank
Coming
you.
out into the open with what you
Seriously.
love doing.
No,
and
and
how
that
did
is.
you feel? Weren't you excited?
No,
How did you
I'll
feel?
tell you
I mean,
this,
really?
going into it, because I had a very rough week, personally, emotionally, physically, that I asked my team, I'm like, you guys are going to have to take over, and if I have to channel the whole time, I will do it. I will do that. The moment I stepped into that threshold of that doorway, the tiredness, that whatever I felt that was lacking was not lacking no more. I was vibrant, I was full of energy, and I was excited to share these gifts with a lot of other people that may not be as aware or may not know that which I can do, that we can all do for each other. And just that education process and that sharing.
Well, I had to laugh too because,
Yeah.
you know, Dave and I have been doing, we were doing Goddess Fridays for a while. We haven't done them since July. Just living life, just living life. And,
But we do this all day long.
but this is the thing, yes, whether we're on camera or not. And the funny thing is that I've come to realize a lot of my connections with this idea of Isis and what she is, what she stands for. And we talked about her. We have kind of pictures in the little trailer video that you put together. There's pictures of Isis on there. So I had to laugh when Ivan says this morning, said yesterday, I really need to do this channeling for you. And so today he says, so
Well, let me correct.
what do you know about, how did you say it? What do you know about Isis?
Well,
Or
I need to correct something because I
Okay.
already knew that coming here I was going to be channeling for her.
But
And I thought it was going to be typically
like your
angelics, Shamuel, Michael, whoever. But as I'm doing some stretching, which I
that's right.
I happen to be in this position, and I get a flash imagery of Isis, and I'm like, oh, hello, hi. And I asked, yes, how may I help you? And she asked, I need to talk to Wendy. I'm like, okay. And I'm like, it's okay. Well, first off, she was offering to assist me with a bit of healing with myself, with all my bodies. And then I'm like, okay, well, you're doing that. I wish to do something for you. And she articulated that she wanted me to speak through me talk to Wendy, and it was literally about that empowerment and not to allow anyone to dim your own light down, because we know words are powerful, and especially when someone's being judgmental. Even though we may be strong, you still get pain. It still hurts, whether you want to put the facade of I'm tougher or not. But it's literally how you maneuver that energy. Do you allow it to smack you straight in the face, or do you literally do some energetic aikido and literally send it right back? Thank you, but no thank you. Have a good day. Love you. And eventually, maybe someday I may help you out. But the fact that Isis came to me to literally speak to her, and on the drive here, Sekhmet connected with me.
Another weird
Right.
coincidence.
So I was like, what's going on with all these Egyptians? And I know they have Egyptian type of stuff that is very activating, just FYI. But I was like, okay, I'm having these two beautiful, strong, divine feminine energies that just wanted to remind this beautiful soul how freaking strong she is, and that everything that she puts on camera for us to digest and to help us evolve is very, very valuable, regardless if someone has a negative opinion of one or not. Because Lord knows, if you're in this process of learning more about yourself, you get those sideways looks like, are you crazy? Because you're no longer playing in that little box that is what everybody is taught to play in. You're literally allowing yourself to expand and spread your wings, spread your whatever, to start soaring higher than you ever thought was even possible. So I just want to share that part because I thought that was really cool. I've never had it.
And I'm glad that you mentioned that, because I like how you explain it, because people don't realize that, you're always channeling anyway. Your spirit's channeling your personality in your body right now.
Right.
Everybody does.
Right.
But what was interesting about so many of those things is how Dave had bought me the Isis Oracle deck and the journal, and they had those amazing images and things that we've talked about before. Isis is that idea and that energy has come to me many times in channelings as well. And yet,
Even though she may not identify them.
well, that's true too. That's true. So it's very interesting that, and then just a couple of days ago, I was looking at a woman who paints these beautiful drums, and she had this beautiful Isis drum. So it was like all of these reminders. And so, and as we were talking about it, I was like, oh my God, well, look at this deck that Dave bought me in the journal. So I was showing Ivan the deck in the journal. And so all of these, so then I wanted to address one thing that you said. Okay, so that idea energy says to Ivan, come and deliver a message to me. So some people would say, as I'm hearing right now, well, if you're a channel, why can't you bring your own message? Of course you can. But you know what? I'm just like everybody else. I'm still working through my own belief system. So, even though I know I can, and yet, there are my own, say, victim voice belief systems that say that, okay, maybe I can't hear that message directly because my belief system I still don't have the belief about myself, and yet that empowers me to give me that message when I couldn't receive it directly. Because my belief system was, I'm not good enough, or I don't feel that way about myself, or I will even if I hear that message from her, do not dim your light, which I've heard many times, and I've told Dave as well, but they've been telling me this, is still that little voice that, but what are other people going to think, and it still happens to me too.
Well, I have to address that because that is your distorted ego.
Exactly.
Just FYI. And I'll share this, which myself and my lovely let's just say, partner in life. I know that I am Archangel Chamuel. I am that beautiful fractal that is he. And a lot of times, she channels him to me, and I question, why the heck isn't he talking to me directly? After all, I am him.
Very good. See?
So, part of the reason why this transpires, and this is relevant to this, is due to the fact that a lot of times, whether it's victimhood or whether we are distracted by other garbage, or let's just say distractions, that are taking your attention away from this benevolent, beautiful energy that wants to articulate something to you, but you're too busy over here when the most important thing that you should be paying attention is right here, trying to grab your attention. And they will only do so much. We have to, it's up to us whether we choose to play with them or not. So, one thing that Chamuel, with my beloved Charity, in human form, I'll leave it at that. A lot of times when I'm not listening, she channels him, myself, to myself, because now I have a human being in front of me that I cannot ignore because they are talking to me. Not that I ignore them regardless, but when you have a physical being in front of you and they have your attention, it's really hard to move your attention away from them when they are fully engaged with you. Versus an energy, in a sense, because of our human, I don't want to say construct, let's just say human programming, we're just like, whatever, I don't know what the heck that was. But when you all have a physical being that's in your face, it's kind of hard to get that person out of your face versus an energy that's going in and out, facing in and out, then still giving you a message. You know what I mean?
Sometimes the path of least resistance
is through another person.
Ivan coming.
Exactly. And I was going to say too, as I'm listening to you speak to that, when we, even me, if I'm in a lower vibration, where I am in a I'm not good enough state of mind,
right,
I can't hear that message anyway.
I
can't. I'm not in the right vibration to hear that message because I'm in a vibration of I'm not good enough, so
right.
I can't hear that. I can't hear the message.
Release the resistance
To your path of least resistance.
And I love that because just like electricity, the channeling of electricity, energy, the energy will come through the path of least resistance. In
That's
this instance,
right.
It was me articulating the goddess Isis speaking to her. And in my personal experience with my beloved Charity, she articulates my highest light, Archangel Chamuel, to say, listen, son, pay attention to this. Don't do this, don't do that, you're doing great, continue doing this, whatever. It's not always a negative thing. It's always what we need to hear when we need to hear it. Not what we want to hear when we want to hear it. That is a big difference. Just wanted to clarify, because a lot of people think, oh, well, you're a channel. Well, Michael I love Archangel Michael. Well, Archangel Michael, I imagine he speaks this way. And then you actually interact with the energy that is Archangel Michael, and you're like, holy cow, he does not speak in the way the books say that he speaks or presents himself. A lot of our divine gods, goddesses, angelics, galactics are very beautiful, are very loving, very benevolent, but if we have the awareness on certain things as far as how to navigate our lives, and we're being dum-dums and misusing that, they will put a boot to the butt. Just saying. That's just a little hint. So if you have the awareness, the wherewithal, with your multidimensionality, and you have all these lovely abilities that come into place, and you think you can still be the, let's just say, you can still be the 15, 16-year-old naive teenager, you can act a fool and expect not to be reprimanded. As you're this now more mature version of yourself, they have this broader awareness. Oh, you're going to get reprimanded and then some. But it's not in a negative way. It's in a, you get not reprimanded but shown via a lesson that may suck if you choose to manifest that. If you choose a certain reality, a certain path.
It's up
Right.
to you.
Exactly. Do you choose to stay in this higher vibrational frequency, or do you want to go play in the muck and get yourself all dirty, and then be like, and then go through the whole process of, crap, I've already done this, and it took me X amount of time. Well, congratulations. It's not going to take you that long to clean up, but it's going to take you time to clean up all the muck off. So it is a choice point, and it's not a victimhood. It is what you created and what you manifested into your reality to play. So it's never done to you. That's just all I'm going to say to that.
Well, every single thing that happens has got a negative possibility and a positive possibility.
Perception.
You get to choose
Yes.
which one you want to apply to your experience.
Right.
So if you want to experience the negative side of it,
Right.
that's what's going to happen because that's what you're asking for.
Absolutely.
But it's always up to you. And the point of it now is we're sort of sick of choosing everyone else's negative beliefs.
Yes.
Exactly.
Yes.
And throughout the day, if you're just consciously thinking about everything that happens, everything people say, everything you might, if you watch TV, anything you might see on TV,
Right.
all these options are being presented to you, and you literally can choose if you want to accept their belief as your own, or believe your own belief.
Absolutely.
And that's why all these things happen. So we can filter and choose and sift and sort what beliefs we want to have, and then you act as though your belief is yours.
Right.
So if you don't act, action is another word for grounding. So the idea of grounding, the idea is in the physical world to actually act in some way toward the belief that you want to have.
Right.
So if you act in fear, you're going to get back fear. If you act in self-empowerment, that's the stuff that's going to come back to you, that's what you're going to see in your mirror.
Right.
And
So you could-
vocabulary has a lot to do with how we say things to ourselves.
Spelling.
So sort of the idea of if you want to see a smile in the mirror, you have to smile first. No matter how long
It
you
will
look in
not.
that
It's
mirror.
gonna not smile, and that's all. It's all it is a reflection. And we have to be okay with seeing the reflection, because all it is saying, is this the reflection you prefer? If it's not,
Wow.
choose something different.
It's honestly, it's choices.
We can no longer keep playing this victim game of it's somebody else's fault or something else's fault because we're not doing this thing. When if we understand the vibration of your highest joy and excitement doesn't even contain the things that you're afraid of, why wouldn't you then move in the direction of your highest joy and excitement? Because it just doesn't contain the things that you think it's going to contain. That's not that is not the definition of your highest excitement, is it?
No, but it's important to point out that when you're in your highest excitement, or even working toward it, these so-called negative kind of things are going to show up because you're really trying to get rid of them. So as these negative things show up, you assign a positive.
And you can have negative synchronicities. This is the thing people also don't realize, that synchronicity isn't always
Positive.
rainbows and,
But you get to assign the meaning to them, and if you assign positive meaning to them, they can no longer operate
From a negative.
standpoint. And really, there's no such thing as negative.
No,
It's only
that's
because
a
you're
definition.
assigning a
Yes.
definition to something as being negative.
Negative.
Right.
Then it becomes something you don't prefer.
Right.
Exactly. Then it becomes something
That's
you don't
interesting.
prefer.
Because you literally just want, say, for instance, again, bringing up which a lot of people are going through some tough times. You go through a hardship, right? Why not view it as a positive and literally put that positive energy behind it? Okay, if I'm not working anymore, well, guess what? I have plenty of free time. Now I can do what I wish to do, whether that's looking internally, if that's your thing, whether that's become much more creative or whatsoever, but viewing the positive aspect of it. Now I don't got to be working myself to the freaking bone and burning the candle not just at both ends, but at three ends, and wear myself out. Look at it from that vantage point and see how that's such a beautiful blessing that now you have time to give your beautiful vessel, your beautiful body, the time to recover and function and balance, so you can now create something new and something better, and manifest a better reality for yourself than the monotonous rat race type of programming, I guess.
You know, I just had thought about money, about limitations on money, and we just had a circumstance in our own personal life with somebody who, they were talking about how their child was interested in music and really wanted to play the piano, learn how to play the piano. And all of a sudden it was, the first things you think of, okay, well, there's no piano available, there's no music program at school, I can't afford private lessons, so right away it's about money. So I said, it's not about the money, it's about abundance. Abundance isn't about money. I said, and that's when you said about AJ's friend teaching piano and singing. So I said, see, there you go. Right there, there's somebody that we know that teaches piano. So then, as she's leaving, I mentioned something about Dave's keyboard, and I said, you know, Dave's got a keyboard here too. I said, and the piano keys are, you know, the keys are just like piano keys, they're weighted, and anyway. So as soon as she looks at it, she says, oh my God, I forgot my best friend is a piano teacher and teaches for free.
How's that?
Hello, she teaches.
Abundance.
Teaches, and she's like has her master's and studied. So it was like.
And speaks Spanish.
And speak Spanish, because they speak Spanish, which is that'll lead us into a whole nother thing with Ivan and I. But
Hablo español.
I mean, todo show. And here I start speaking light language. Oh my God, I do not speak Spanish. Let's just put it that way. So, but we live in South Florida, so there's a lot of people around here that speak Spanish. And even where I grew up north, there's a lot of people that spoke Spanish. But anyway, so I got this inspiration because of the same person in our life, and Ivan was here at the time visiting. Was it a week or two ago or whatever?
A couple weeks.
And all of a sudden, well, Dave and we had been talking about this. I had been talking about how I got this, if you want to call it a download, about, oh my God, wouldn't it be cool if one of our friends who spoke Spanish could translate and interpret, give their own interpretation of an oracle card, and I give it in English and they give it in Spanish, and then we give our light languages. It was like, oh wow, this would be a great, how fun would this be? So this idea.
Who could be the person to help with that? I wonder.
And so I'm thinking, who would I know that would do that? And then Ivan comes to visit, and I'm like, it's Ivan! I'm like, it's Ivan. So I say to Ivan, is this something that might interest you? So we did an experiment with somebody who speaks Spanish, and we literally interpreted the card, interpreted in English, interpreted in Spanish. And
it was a lot of fun.
And had a lot of fun. So we've been thinking about doing these bilingual oracle readings just for the fun of it too.
Just because why not?
Just because why not? And how many people out there might want to hear it in Spanish and English? We don't know, but we're here to find out.
Exactly.
So we thought, wow, what a great way to. Okay, and this is where we talk about belief systems and dominance And the idea of religion has taught us that spirituality is bad. When spirituality is
empowering.
God and empowering, and religious is exclusive, it is excluding, not unifying, and that it is its own form of, in some ways, domination. And I don't want to get any bad comments about this because I'll just leave you. So,
And I'll come visit you in your dreams.
and this is what's happening with us, is that religion was man-made really for money and power and domination.
Yes.
And
Let's be honest.
we can all talk to God
Yeah.
anytime we want. And so the idea of all this in that we're bridging the gap between, there's so much, we talked about the idea of bad luck and what's the word I'm looking for?
Negative connotations on things that
Like-
are very positive.
The word I was talking about, where you're
Superstitious?
yes, thank
Oh,
you. Superstition. Thank you.
Yeah.
Superstition, in that it's nothing but a negative belief system based upon fears that were fed to us, that this thing means this thing, and that means it's bad luck, when it could be like we were talking about earlier.
The opposite. Yeah.
The message is about, it's to show you can change the universe, you can change your reality. So if you, or that it's just your definition that it's bad. In other words, it could be giving you a message, like you said, like the tower, or the fool, or I don't know the tarot. So,
Yeah.
but that they're interpreted as negative and evil.
Right, but in actuality, the message is actually quite positive, and it's giving you a vantage point of this is where you're currently at in your life.
And
Pay attention to this, and it's literally guiding you out of a path that may have a little bit of toxicity or negative experiences, and that's, even though the imagery might seem like negative, the message is.
Well, we talked about the 666 today.
Yeah.
And how that it got perpetuated
As
from what it is, meaning light and all knowledge, to something evil
Right.
because of domination.
Right.
So the idea is to release the victimization and disempowerment.
Which some thoughts or some ideas have been spoon-fed to us repeatedly. Because the best way to brainwash someone is repeat a lie over and over. Eventually, the lie is believed to be the truth. And unfortunately, for a lot of us, that's what we've been fed and brainwashed, and if you want to call it. And hence the part of now you have to deprogram that way of thinking and actually do your own research, do the legwork, and truly figure out what, as an example, why is the number 13 bad luck? When you actually look in the true meaning of the number 13, that is a very sacred number in all actuality.
The 13th step.
Yeah,
Why are we told there's only 12 dimensions
when there's
at least 13?
at least
There's
13.
way more than that.
Yeah, no, there is way more, but just for the sake of us being able
Yes.
to process.
And no 13th floor. We don't put 13th floors in buildings. We don't, because it's superstition.
It is
Because
superstition.
at some point, somebody wanted to disempower us to say 13's evil. It's not, but we know it's transformative.
Okay, so
You're gonna say something.
Well,
Yes.
the 13th step is knowing.
It's knowing. That's what all the 13th stuff
so,
is.
So once
knowing.
you know a truth, you know it.
yeah,
So until you actually know it, you're not actually being it. Once you know it, you can be it.
and you are.
And the whole idea of 13 being represented as a bad
Negative.
number is really metaphorically saying we don't want you to get to the state of knowing.
Okay. Do you want to smoke this?
Are you getting smoked
no,
out?
No, that's
Do you
fine.
wanna
That's
move?
fine. No. Do you want to elaborate on how we got on the topic of how the 666, what it's being taught,
Oh, yes,
and what you
because,
discovered?
okay, so it was the triangle, we were talking about mathematics and the
Yeah.
triangle and the Merkaba and the Star of David and how the triangle one on top of the other, if you look at it, it's the Merkaba, which is also the Star of David. Within it is a hexagon, around, and then it's a six-pointed star, and then within it is six triangles. So they showed this to me one day. We have one hanging on the wall here, and all of a sudden it was like they said to me, 666 is holy. They're like, look up in the wall. They're like, it's right there in math. This is the Merkaba. This is Metatron. This is your engine. 666 is vital. It's holy. It's sacred, and that there it is right in front of you in the star. But that is two triangles. And then we got to talk about the points and how to measure.
Right.
All things are measured.
Yeah, just the dimensions of points in space being
When we use the triangulator.
triangulating. So every point is got.
And how when you measure a
3
sphere,
points.
you measure it in triangle points.
Right. So we were talking about just the idea of three-dimensional objects as they are rendered on a computer, and how it's really a mesh of triangles all connected together, and that allows for the triangle to be the smallest shape that can create a shape.
And the triangle itself represents the Trinity.
Creation.
It is, exactly, it is literally the vibrational representation of creation itself. It really is. I mean, I don't know really how else to that is how they've given it to me in its simplest form.
Metatron symbol and a bunch of triangles.
Yes.
Yeah,
That's
Metatron
what
star.
it is. All triangles.
Yeah,
Of course, the stargate.
6 points.
And then, of course, we all know the Merkaba is basically two pyramids or spinning triangles. And then let's talk about the pyramids. We were talking about the pyramid energy.
Right.
How that's still untapped. How we've recently discovered that there's two crystal pyramids off the shore right off Florida. Crystal pyramids bigger than the pyramids of Giza. Bigger than the ones, it's like beneath the surface here.
Yeah.
So lots of Atlantis information coming to the surface.
Okay, so, and this is just my own personal observation.
And then the dolphin and the whale, oh my God, and the
Dolphin.
serious energy. It's like, oh my God, I can go on and on.
Okay.
Our
That's
fireside chat will end up all night.
No, like the 6, typically, just based on that belief, again, belief, is just give.
We
Go
were
ahead.
looking up 666 in the Bible.
Oh,
Yeah.
to see its
And
reference,
in
yes.
the Torah,
In the
it's
Torah.
referenced as a holy reference. And
In the Torah.
in the New Testament, they changed it into
To
the number
the-
of the beast.
Okay.
Exactly.
So
That's
how interesting is that the Torah is much more ancient than the New Testament? Why would we change something that's so sacred just so certain groups of people can disempower ourselves? And one thing that because I'm very harmoniously bound and balanced in my way of thinking, you have the yin and the yang, therefore you need a 9 and a 6 to have that balance. If you don't have the 6, where's that balance? So that 6 is very essential for that balance, and I see that as a sacred union within that. And again, we can go off in tangents all over the place, to be honest.
Well, and if you notice too, a lot of our ET friends
Yeah.
use the triangle or a variation of as their symbol for contact, as their symbol for connecting. That was one of the first things I learned was how to connect with other civilizations using a triangle.
Oh.
And Sirius, the star Sirius and the Sirian energy, they were also helpful in us understanding pyramid energy, how to vibrate the stones, talking to the stones. That's a whole nother subject.
Right.
Is there anything specific that we want to tell us?
Am I missing something that's it's obvious, don't forget it. I guess I
It's
am.
fun. Well, I don't know, because a lot of times we start talking.
I know, I'm like, oh
and,
wait, was I supposed to say something?
And then the conversations literally take a life of their own, and we go all over the place.
No, I think told your story.
Right.
Was there something about your trips that you wanted to mention?
No, not yet. Oh, the centaurs. Oh, so many beings. Oh my gosh.
Thank you.
You just pink. Light bulb.
See?
I love you, smoke, but get out of my face.
I know. Do you
But
want to move?
no. That's fine.
I'll slide this.
We can
out of the
slide
way.
it out of the way.
See, it got out of my way as soon as I said pink, get out of the way.
Ranger was sleeping behind us for a while.
No, what I wanted to share is going back to superstition, and to beliefs. Again, I'm not knocking any religions whatsoever. You believe what you believe. You take whatever we share, and you use your own discernment. Follow, please, honor and follow your heart. If it's true for you, then it is true for you. And if you disagree, that's fine. There is absolutely no judgment. As far as beings, since they want to talk about centaurs, there's a lot of beings that are depicted as folklore and mythological, or silly superstition. A lot of these beings are real if you choose to believe, and in your belief, that opens the doorway for you to actually connect energetically with them. That's how I was able to actually interact with these centaurs in Montana, which are half horse, half human beings, and my beloved sister.
Speaking of the centaurs, happy birthday, Sagittarius!
Exactly.
I'm one.
To all you Sagittarians.
Woohoo! The Galactic Center.
Exact. Yeah. Is it filled with cream? Anyway, something different. I apologize. Caramel.
I love caramel.
But no, with a lot, be open to connect with whoever you gravitate to. I have a beautiful connection with mermaids, and that's what opened my door to connect with this aspect of myself.
Hey, we have
mermaid.
my beautiful statue of my
Unicorns.
unicorn back here, Eclipse. We have unicorn stuff all over the house, as you probably already know.
Right. So, literally, don't put yourself in a box or cage yourself into this is just my belief structure. Literally allow yourself to explore and be totally open to connect with whatever or whoever in the highest vibrational light possible at all times.
As our beautiful Cryon channel through Lead Carol says, forget everything you ever knew.
And actually, Ivan reminded me of something that I was talking to AJ about, where everyone's always exploring their own experience.
Right.
And they're asking questions. And they're looking for answers.
Right.
And as you ask questions to whomever it might be it another person, be it your guides, the universe, doesn't matter. Don't create a set of multiple choice answers that fit in a box.
Thank you.
That do not also at least contain none of the above, please explain.
Beautifully said.
Because oftentimes you will create this box of answers that you're looking for. And if the answer doesn't fit in that box, you're not getting an answer.
And you're limiting yourself
that's true.
You're
tremendously.
limiting yourself.
Okay,
true.
and I just want to share this when it comes to my channeling ability. Initially, I was very staunch about only Shamuel coming through. But eventually, I came to the realization I'm not doing anyone human or non-human, quote unquote.
Hello, everybody.
Our galactic families. I know there's a couple of spaceships over here, like live broadcasting. And we're
Oh, for
live
sure.
from Pembroke
Hey,
Pines.
Open Contact TV.
Hey, there's an idea.
TV.
And it is happening, by the way. We do talk to them on ship. But what I was saying is, literally swing the door wide open